So after the 12th of October this year, when you go on holiday, you have to scan your fingerprint and in some cases do a face scan to access the EU. You may be thinking, well, I've not heard about this. Yeah, well, me neither until today. I'm surprised about the absolute lack of coverage on this topic because what's happening is absolutely insane. So obviously the UK isn't part of the EU, as are many other countries. Well, now if you come inside of the EU, bad choice of words, if you come into the EU at the border, it's now initially going to take a little bit longer because they need to collect some personal information about you. And it's not just a guy behind a counter asking you the reason for your visit. In this instance, they're now going to be taking fingerprint scans and facial ID scans. Now, as I was reading about the EU introducing this, I've now seen that many of the countries in the world are rolling this out in their own jurisdictions. And a few of those countries are also based in the Middle East. Now, there's a few core issues with this being rolled out. Actually, I can think of hundreds. The first one is the fact that we can't just go on holiday. We can't just go abroad, sit on a beach somewhere and have an enjoyable time without knowing that we've been added to a database which is used to identify criminals. And we know how bad and broken the legal system is to the extent where many people have been falsely accused of crimes, or they've been accused of crimes without the context factored in, and for a period of time it ruined their lives. Now, the other issue here is what is illegal? What's illegal? That's a valid question. Well, it all depends on the country. EU has relatively similar laws across the board. The Middle East certainly doesn't. In fact, in some parts of the Middle East, there's so many crimes that are considered part of normal day life in the UK that they'll be able to track you, trace you, fingerprint you, and imprison you for committing crimes. And in most cases, people don't even realise is illegal. Now, of course, that's mainly limited to some of the cultural related stuff in the Middle East. But even in the EU, having the ability for governments to be able to not only track you, trace you, and identify you, but there's also an option for you to get tied up in scenarios that you never previously would have got tied up into. For example, what if you stayed in a hotel and something happened in that hotel after your stay? Or maybe you're out of the hotel and your fingerprints are on record being in that hotel. You've not only got to deal with a completely different legal system, a completely different set of language barriers, but you've also been fingerprinted as being in that country. Alongside that, with many countries in the EU looking to introduce the Online Safety Act, not only do you have your passport of you actually entering the country, they then have your biometric data to tie you to what you did in that country, what websites you visited in that country. How far is too far? Now, a very quick 15-second thank you to private internet access. If you're looking for a VPN to be able to browse the internet privately, well, private internet access is a great option. There's no logs. In fact, they even proved it in court, which was... It's cost effective and very easy to use. You can use it across multiple devices, and it's actually a great way to watch Netflix from other countries. I personally watch the US Netflix, it's better than the UK one. So if you want to get 4 months free and 86% off, make sure you check the link down below. So now with biometric data being on file for everyone that visits the EU, we're now going to start to see mass surveillance. Now, mass surveillance as a terminology is a very, very tricky one to define because technically mass surveillance is surveilling loads of people without the proof of a crime. But the government argues that surveillance is needed to find the crime. But there's no getting around the fact that every single person that has to scan their fingerprint at the border is immediately going to be checked through a database and essentially be added to a database for potential crimes to match that data to them. Now, please do not get me wrong. There are definitely some benefits to this existing. People can't just go across the border and commit various crimes in different countries. I think that's overall a good thing, but I'm not challenging the benefits of it. I'm challenging the absolutely monumental amount of downsides to this. In the Western world, our right to privacy isn't something that's really spoken about a lot. For me, I love being anonymous on the internet, and I take great pride in the fact that I can do YouTube, then go out and do a food shop. No one will know who I am. I have a private life outside of the internet. But what the UK government's doing at the moment, to be honest, I don't really care about myself in this instance. It takes away from not just the British public, but all the populations of every country around the world where this is now getting rolled out. The Online Safety Act was absolutely shocking. Collecting biometric information at the border of various countries is actually something that they rolled out many years ago, just like face scans. If you've used the self-serve passport control portals inside of an airport, that's essentially what that is. But now adding fingerprints into the mix as well, a requirement that shouldn't be needed on top of the aforementioned things that we've just discussed, we're now starting to see mass data collection. It's one thing websites collecting cookies and data about us. But at the end of the day, if it makes our advertising experience better, it's a thing that we can kind of accept whilst using the internet. But then the government requiring ID on top of these extra layers that already exist on these websites, and then on top of that collecting biometric information, we're starting to build a picture of, and I know people have complained about me saying this, but there is no denying that all of these things tied together is getting closer to what China currently has in place. And it's very, very, very stupid how loads of MPs in the UK have criticised China's data practices, yet they're the same people that voted for all of these individual acts to roll out in the UK, and people have voted this in the EU as well, after all of the complaints that they've made about China. I don't understand how people can't see the parallels here. I'm not saying that we are China. No, of course we're not. But we are 100% in the next 3 years, if not the next year, going to be matching the way that they do their surveillance. That is not good for the people. The only people that benefit are the government. I don't like the fact that I would be considered for committing a crime as a suspect. I don't like the fact that they can say, you stayed in this hotel and there was a murder down the hallway. And we've got proof that you were in your hotel room that night. You could be completely oblivious to what happened. It doesn't matter, you were there. I can guarantee in the next 12 months that we'll see the conviction rate in Europe go through the roof due to the biometric data. And I'll be very interested to see over the next couple of years how many of those arrests actually turned out to be successful convictions, and whether those initial arrests were the police actually catching the correct people. Really, really keen to hear what you guys think about this down below. Thank you for watching. Make sure you go and check out Private Internet Access, the link down below, and I'll see you all in the next one.